There is a thief in your life. You have never seen its face, never heard it break in, never noticed anything missing. Yet every single month, without fail, it reaches into your paycheck and takes. Not a little. According to a 2023 Federal Reserve report, nearly 37% of Americans could not cover a $400 emergency without borrowing or selling something. 37%. And these are not people who are not working. These are people who are working and still losing. The thief is not a person. It is a system of invisible forces that most people never learn to name, and that is exactly why most people never reach financial independence. Marcus had a good job. He always had a good job. At 34, he was earning $62,000 a year, which is above the U.S. median household income. He was not reckless with money. He did not buy luxury cars. He did not gamble. He spent what felt reasonable and saved what was left, which most months was almost nothing. He had heard of the thieves. He had just never been taught to see them clearly. By the time Sara sat down with him and showed him his last 12 months of spending, he counted 6 of them operating simultaneously in his financial life, draining thousands per year. 6 invisible thieves, hiding in plain sight. The first thing Sara did was not give him a budget. That surprised him. She said budgets treat the symptoms. She wanted to treat the disease. The disease was invisibility. Most people cannot reach financial independence not because they earn too little, though that is a real issue, but because they have never been trained to see money as something that moves in patterns. It arrives, it disperses, and somewhere in that dispersal, a significant portion disappears into the hands of 6 forces that profit from your financial confusion. Name them, and you take their power away. Ignore them, and they compound quietly for decades. This episode is not about shaming you for where you are. The 6 invisible thieves are not the result of weakness or bad character. They are the result of a financial environment that was never designed to make wealth easy for working people. A 2022 TIAA Institute study found that less than half of American adults could correctly answer basic questions about compound interest, inflation, and risk diversification. The system does not require you to understand it in order to charge you. In fact, it prefers that you do not. Naming the thieves is the beginning of financial independence, not the middle and not the end. Sara is not a financial advisor. She is a 38-year-old logistics analyst who spent 4 years tracking her own financial data after feeling exactly what Marcus was feeling. She built a spreadsheet. She read the studies. She made the mistakes. And then she fixed them one thief at a time. By the time she spoke with Marcus, she had a net worth of $310,000, no credit card debt, a fully funded emergency fund, and a retirement account on track for a 58-year-old exit. She is not exceptional. She is informed. And today, we walk through all 6 of the invisible thieves that kept her broke and then did not. Thief 1 is lifestyle inflation. It is the most beloved thief because it feels like reward. Every time Marcus got a raise, his spending rose to meet it within 90 days. A better apartment, a newer car, a few more subscriptions, more dining out. The raise never changed his savings rate. It just changed what normal felt like. Bankrate's 2024 Financial Literacy Survey found that 61% of Americans say they live paycheck to paycheck, a figure that has barely moved in a decade despite rising average wages. The raises are real. The lifestyle inflation that absorbs them is just as real. Thief 1 does not steal from your wallet. It steals from your future self, one comfortable upgrade at a time. The antidote Sara used was a 50% rule for any raise or income increase. The moment additional income arrived, she moved 50% of the net increase directly to her investment account before adjusting any lifestyle spending. This meant she could still enjoy raises without surrendering entirely to the thief. If a $200 monthly raise hit her account, $100 went to investing, $100 went to living. Over 6 years, a habit, applied consistently, contributed over $18,000 to her net worth in redirected lifestyle inflation alone. The thief still visited. She just stopped leaving the door wide open. Thief 2 is minimum payment thinking. Americans collectively carry over $1.13 trillion in credit card debt as of 2024, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. The credit card industry is not a lending service. It is a minimum payment business. It is structured to keep balances alive as long as possible because that is where the profit lives. A $5,000 balance at 22% APR, paid at the minimum of roughly $100 a month, takes over 7 years to eliminate and costs more than $4,800 in interest. You pay nearly double for whatever you originally bought. Thief 2 does not pickpocket you once. It invoices you every single month for years. Marcus was carrying $18,500 across 3 credit cards. He paid the minimum on 2 of them and slightly above on the third. He believed he was being responsible. Sara showed him that at his current payment rate, his last card would not be paid off for 9 years, and the total interest cost across all 3 would exceed $11,000. He would pay $11,000 for the privilege of having spent $18,500. They restructured his payments using the debt avalanche method, targeting the highest APR card with every available dollar, while holding minimums on the rest. Within 26 months, all 3 were cleared. The interest he saved was redirected entirely into his retirement account. Thief 3 is fee erosion. It is the quietest of the 6 because its charges are usually small individually, small enough to feel irrelevant. Monthly bank maintenance fees, ATM fees, investment fund expense ratios, insurance administrative charges, subscription auto renewals, credit card annual fees for cards rarely used. Marcus found $487 per year in fees he had never consciously agreed to pay across 11 different accounts and services. That number sounds manageable until Sara showed him what $487 invested annually at a 7% return over 25 years becomes. It becomes $32,900. Thief 3 steals $32,900 from you in the form of fees you never noticed, across decades you cannot get back. Thief 4 is tax inefficiency. This is not about cheating or avoiding taxes. This is about the legal, available, completely legitimate tax advantage accounts that most working Americans underuse or ignore entirely. As of 2024, the 401k contribution limit is $23,000 per year. The IRA contribution limit is $7,000. A health savings account for eligible individuals allows up to $4,150. Together, that is over $34,000 in tax advantage space per year that the government has explicitly made available. Vanguard's 2024 How America Saves report found that the average employee contribution rate is only 7.4% of salary. Most people are not coming close to filling the space they are legally allowed. The cost of tax inefficiency is not just a smaller retirement account. It is paying taxes today on money you could legally defer, growing a smaller invested base for a compound interest to work on, and in many cases leaving employer match dollars uncaptured. Marcus was contributing 4% to his 401k. His employer matched up to 5%. He was leaving 1% of his salary in free money on the table every single year because he did not realize the match extended to 5. Sara walked him through the numbers. Over 20 years, that uncaptured 1%, including the match and compound growth, would have cost him over $41,000. Thief would charge him $41,000 for not reading a benefits document. Thief 5 is the absence of an emergency fund. This one is sneaky because it does not steal from you directly. It creates the conditions where every other thief steals more. Without a funded emergency buffer, every unexpected expense becomes a credit card charge, a retirement account withdrawal, or a loan. Each of those responses triggers either high-interest debt, tax penalties, or both. The 10% early withdrawal penalty on a traditional 401k means a $3,000 emergency becomes a $3,300 withdrawal plus income tax on top. Bankrate's 2024 data shows that 56% of Americans could not cover a $1,000 emergency from savings alone. Every one of those people is one car repair away from the credit cycle starting again. Sara built her emergency fund in stages rather than trying to reach 3 months of expenses in one burst. Stage 1 was a $1,000 starter buffer. That took 2 months. Stage 2 was 1 full month of expenses, which for her was $3,200. That took 6 more months. Stage 3 was reaching 3 full months, which she completed in month 14 from starting. She never touched a credit card for an emergency again after month 2. The protection that buffer provided created a compounding stability effect. Her credit score rose because balances stopped spiking. Her stress dropped. Her investment contributions stayed consistent. The emergency fund did not just protect her. It made everything else in her financial plan work better. Thief 6 is the most personal, and for many people the most powerful. It is the hidden cost of financial isolation. Study after study, including research from the National Endowment for Financial Education, shows that people who discuss personal finance openly with trusted peers make better financial decisions, stay more consistent with savings habits, and recover from financial setbacks faster. Financial silence is not neutral. It is expensive. Marcus had never once had an honest money conversation with anyone in his life before Sara. He did not know what a good retirement savings rate looked like. He did not know his employer matched to 5%. He did not know what an expense ratio was. He simply did not know what he did not know, and nobody in his life was talking about it. Sara did not give Marcus a perfect financial plan. She gave him a sequence one. First, capture the full employer match. Second, build the starter $1,000 emergency buffer. Third, kill the highest rate credit card debt. Fourth, complete the 3-month emergency fund. Fifth, audit every recurring fee and cancel and use services. Sixth, apply the 50% rule to every future raise. Seventh, increase 401k contributions by 1% every year. Each step remove one thief or reduce its access. The sequence mattered because trying to do all 6 simultaneously is overwhelming and usually results in doing none of them consistently. 18 months after that first spreadsheet conversation, Marcus had paid off all 3 credit cards, built a $9,800 emergency fund, increased his 401k contributions to 7%, captured his full employer match for first time, and eliminated $620 per year in fees across his bank and investment accounts. His net worth had moved from negative $14,000 to positive $22,000, a $36,000 swing in 18 months on the same salary. He had not changed jobs. He had not won anything. He had simply identified what was taken from him and systematically closed each door. The thieves did not disappear. They just found him considerably harder to rob. There's a version of your financial life where none of the 6 thieves have ever been named, where lifestyle inflation absorbs every raise, where minimum payments stretch for years, where fees silently drain accounts, where tax advantage space goes mostly unused, where the absence of an emergency fund keeps you cycling through debt, where financial silence keeps you from knowing any of this is fixable. That version of your life costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime in compound interest, fees, taxes, and interest payments. It is not inevitable. It is simply what happens when the thieves operate in the dark. Naming a thief does not take money out of your account, but it is the only step that comes before every other step. You cannot automate savings away from lifestyle inflation until you see the pattern. You cannot target debt intelligently until you understand minimum payment math. You cannot capture tax advantage space until you know it exists. You cannot protect your plan with an emergency fund until you understand what happens without one. You cannot reduce fee erosion until you see where the fees live. And you cannot break through financial isolation until you decide to start talking. Every single action that builds wealth begins with the same first move, turning the light on. So here's what I want to know, and I am not asking this casually. Which of the 6 invisible thieves is operating in your financial life right now? Because you now have their names. Lifestyle inflation, minimum payment thinking, fee erosion, tax inefficiency, the missing emergency fund, and financial isolation. Drop the one that hit hardest in the comments below, because the person reading your comment next week might be exactly where you were before this video, and your answer might be the thing that turns their light on. If this episode gave you one thing you're going to use this week, subscribe to Wealth Lens. We are here every single week helping you see money differently.